Hey guys, what is up? This is PvT-Mitten's, and let's finish off this Phantasy Star series video with the final installment, episode 5. Now, after the 4 original games that were all amazing in their own rights, what could happen to the series? What could Sega do to it? Well, that's the thing. Sega didn't know what to do with it. So they released Phantasy Star Online. It's an alright game. It's for the Dreamcast. It was online. It's the first online console game ever made. Honestly, it's a good game. If it had been a spin-off, one-off kind of thing, wouldn't have bothered me whatsoever. But no. Then they got episode 2 and 3. Add-ons, fair enough. That's fine by me. Then the shitstorm came. They made a Phantasy Star card game. Phantasy Star third-person shooters. Phantasy Star action shooters, hack and slashes, you name it. This series has got it. And it's just a goddamn shame what they've done to the series. And with the announcement of the new Phantasy Star Online game, why? Just really? That's the best way of putting it. Why? Sega, you had the 4 greatest RPGs on your systems at their time. Hell, even putting Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest to shame when they were coming out. And you turn them into that, of all things. Now, they did remake 1 and 2 in Japan for the PS2. But from what I've heard, is they completely botched them up. Supposedly, they look like Flash games. You know, you'd see on Newgrounds or something. So, what have you done, Sega? You destroyed a franchise that was at the top of its game. I mean, if you ask any RPG enthusiast what the 3 most innovative RPGs are, they without question are Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, and Phantasy Star. There's no getting around that. Sega took that and turned it into what it is today, a series that does not know what it's doing with itself, and the online portion seems to be the one that is taken over now. So they essentially did the Blizzard stunt with the Warcraft series. But if you can see in the background, this is the PS2 one, the action RPG one. It just isn't the same. It's not that it's a bad game or anything. It's just that they're not Phantasy Star. Like, God, it just pisses me off, like what Sega has done to this series. And Sega's done this to a lot of their series as well. And honestly, if I could ask for anything from Phantasy Star, please give us a Phantasy Star 5. This is how it can be done. Get the teams that worked on 3 and 1, 2, and 4 all to work together. Implement the features that all of them introduced into one, game. Give every character flushed out, backstories without having to add a text add-on thing. 3D first-person dungeons. Music by, obviously, Numata, that I said before. And now for the graphics. What they could do is, for anyone that doesn't know, Wonder Boy 3 just got remastered for the PS4, Xbox One, PC, and I think the Switch got it as well. But what they did was they allowed you to play in its original, 8-bit. And then you're going to change the game to like this brand new colorful cartoon lookalike. That would be really interesting for Phantasy Star to do. And honestly, I think we deserve a Phantasy Star 4. I mean, the series, if we're going by the the worldwide release, that was 1995. Come on. Seriously. We deserve a Phantasy Star 5, a proper Phantasy Star game. Not this bloody weeaboo shit that we've been getting lately with all this fucking... Like, I love anime as much as the next guy, but not when it changes some of the best written games of its genre into some fucking cringe-worthy weeaboo shit. I'm sorry, but this is one of those series that really pissed me off the way they turned out. And a few other series has done this in the past, but this really hit home, along with Command and Conquer. But Sega's got the money. Sega knows that Phantasy Star is a sought after franchise, and people want a Phantasy Star 5 or a proper remake of the first four games. And just come on, Sega. You've turned it into a card game, an online game, a third person action game, a shooter. Come on, at least give us one you give us one Phantasy Star to send it off if you're gonna make only one more. See, that's why with Phantasy Star 4 it says on the actual game, end of the millennium, because I think they knew it was going to be the last main Phantasy Star game, and unfortunately it was the last main one outside of the remakes and ports and all that there. So yeah, fucking a way to end a series, Sega. But I've been hinting at the entire series what my favorite is. What order would I put the four games in? Okay. If I was to put them in order now, of worst to best, worst is 3. And as much as I love 3's innovations and 3's godlike music, because 3 has the best music, as an actual game, in terms of combat, it's nowhere near as good as the other 3 games. I have to say that. Not a bad game by any means, it's just that it's the weakest out of the 4 games. So, what would I choose after that there? Well, it'd be Phantasy Star 4. Yep, I honestly think 1 and 2 is better than 4. And that's because 4, as I said, just played it safe and just wasn't as good as the first 2 in terms of what it did. Story-wise was great. Was the story better than 1? Yes, it was, a little bit, but 1 beat it in terms of just all-round better dungeons, and I think the far better cast, even though 4 has the better character building for one of the characters. But after that, second best has to go to the first game. The first game did set the template, but it did so many things right that still is echoed through the industry today, and that obviously leaves the best in the series, 2. 2 is so good that to not put it in an RPG top list is pretty insulting to the genre itself, never mind Phantasy Star. But yeah, that's my order, so it would go 3, 4, 1, 2. And I'm not, as I said before, I'm not bagging the new Phantasy Star games. In fact, Phantasy Star on the Dreamcast, I enjoyed it playing it. I thought it was pretty good. Phantasy Star on PS2, which is the one you're seeing in the footage, it's alright. It's not a bad game. But it's not the Phantasy Star I knew and grew up with. And that's why I had to make this, 5-part video. I know there's better videos out there explaining Phantasy Star. It's just that I wanted to put my own 2 cents into it. But anyhow, that's the 5 videos, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this mini-series, and there will be a few more later on down the track, like Command & Conquer, Medal of Honor, stuff like that there. But yeah, that's really it. So hopefully, if there's one thing you learn from this video, please go and buy the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis collection on the Xbox and PS3, just so you can actually experience these games and see them for what they were. Or you can buy them on the virtual store on the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS and that there, but it would be cheaper to buy the Mega Drive collection. But it's up to you. Anyhow, really hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and this series. Let us know what you thought. If you like Phantasy Star, if you hate it, what your favorite is, what your least favorite is. If you agree with my decisions, if not. But anyhow, this is Private Mittens. Enjoy, take care, guys, and see you next time. Bye for now.